Oh no, is she okay? Good morning, everyone. We will give it another couple minutes here before we get started. All right, good morning, everybody. Today's advisory committee meeting for correctional industries. Just a quick reminder that this is a public meeting that is being recorded. So please, for those of you that are participating via Teams, please keep yourself muted unless you're speaking. Just a friendly reminder that the chat won't be monitored during today's meeting. We do have a portion of today's meeting set aside for the public to speak, which is at 10:25. So please notate in the minutes that we're getting started at 9 o'clock. So again, this is the second quarter of today's advisory committee meeting. So I would like to start with a roll call. Do we have Senator Matt Banky? Okay, Senator Claire Wilson. Representative Dan Griffey. Representative Mary Fossey. Christina Davis. Chris Elwell is here with us in person. Good morning, Chris.
Morning.
David Aiken. Okay, do we have Dr. Faith Lutz? Karen Dove. Okay, Lauren Taylor's here with us in person. Good morning, Lauren. Mariana Talbot. Okay, Mina Long.
Here.
Morning, Mina. Thank you for joining us. And Terry Fortner.
I'm here. Good morning.
Terry, thanks for being here.
You betcha.
Okay, so with that, I will turn it over to Assistant Secretary for Reentry, Danielle Armbruster.
Thanks, Jamie. Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see that we have most people that are on the advisory committee with us, hoping that others will join, and we'll make sure to notate that in the minutes. Looking forward to the conversation this morning. We've reviewed all the updates and the operational updates, and we have some pretty significant changes that we want to make sure that we make the advisory committee aware of. Getting ready for the end of fiscal year, so making sure that we are prepared for that. And I know that I don't want to steal the thunder from Lindsay, but we're going to talk about some exciting things that we are continuing to do for individuals as they transition back out into the community as far as our workforce development. So Looking forward to the conversation this morning. Secretary Strange and Deputy Secretary Sean Murphy were not able to be here with us today, but they send their regards, and I'll turn it back to you, Jamie.
Thank you, Danielle. So with that, this begins the business meeting portion of today's meeting. So first I want to turn it over into our last meeting and discuss the meeting minutes from the March 21st meeting. Did anybody on the committee have any questions or follow-up from those minutes? Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Minutes are approved. Okay. Next slide. Thank you. So again, this is just our agenda. We did have just a couple updates to the agenda that was sent out. So again, this is going to be the order that we're going to be discussing things today. So again, we do have a guest speaker joining us today from WCCW, our women's facility. So that's exciting. And again, if there's questions, comments from the committee, please feel free to have us pause on any of the sections during today's business meetings. Okay, so we are going to begin the division updates of all of our CI shops. But before we do jump into that, I did want to share an update with the committee. So with our textiles operation, the decision has been made that we've gone through and notified our partners with labor and Teamsters that we're going to be doing a consolidation of some of our textiles operations. So statewide, we have two textile shops at Coyote Ridge. So we have a textiles, then we have a mattress factory. At Airway Heights, we have two textile shops. At Shelton, we have a textile shop, and then WCCW, we have a textile shop. We've had some challenges with the reduction in the available incarcerated workers. For example, WCCW used to have 1,100 women that reside in that facility, now down to about 500. And then we've had some challenges at Airway Heights in terms of the financial sustainability of one of those programs. And so we have made the decision and we've made the notification that we're going to be consolidating some of our textile shops. So what that really means is the closure of WCCW Textiles and the closure of one of the two shops at Airway Heights. So WCCW, the majority of the work that the individuals provided there was some of the silk screening, like of t-shirts and embroidery. One of the shops at Airway Heights, the one that's remaining open, currently does that. So we've had redundant operations. And so again, our tentative closure date that we've made notification on is August 1st. So again, it's to allow us to continue to focus on our shops and continue with programs that are supporting individuals, which is in line with our mission within correctional industry. So again, tough decision that had to be made, but you know, we have that unique challenge within CI that we have to be self-sustaining. And, you know, historically looking at the financials for the past 5 years, WCCW Textiles has consistently been in the red within hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. So really what that means is our other CI shops have to make up that difference. We've notified the staff that are impacted. We've notified our partners with, like I said, with labor and Teamsters as well as our incarcerated individuals. And again, going to just the DOC population statewide, again, pre-COVID, the numbers were about 18,000, we're about 12,500. No incarcerated workers will be displaced through this process in terms of we have job opportunities specifically at Airway Heights. I mean, we are strictly a voluntary program. So should those individuals that work in those shops want to volunteer to work in other CX shops, we do have those opportunities. So I wanted to share that with the committee. Again, not, just a tough thing to go through, to contract. But hopefully with the advantage that, again, we can expand into, in the future, meaningful programs that are beneficial to the incarcerated population that we serve. So, before we get into any division updates, wanted to pause there to see if there was any questions about that from the advisory committee members.
Is this decline in population, is it a trend that's expected to continue?
I know the department has a team that kind of looks at the forecast basically, to know what's in the court system and what might be coming down our way. I think from what I've heard that there was maybe originally a thought that we would see more of an uptick, but we haven't. We've been pretty steady at this population of kind of that 12,500 for the last couple of years. So I'm not sure. I know there's been some, RCW changes that have impacted, who is sentenced, and what that looks like. So, but I'm not sure in terms of the future forecast. I think it's, Danielle, I don't know if you have anything to add from.
So I'll just jump in there, Chris. I think that's a great question. I can't speak specifically to what the forecast is for our population to either increase or decrease. But one of the things that we're also focused on is other opportunities, so alternatives to confinement for individuals. So we have a lot of opportunities for individuals 12 to 18 months to either go to one of our reentry centers or out onto graduated reentry or community parenting alternative. So we're always looking for the least confinement options for an individual, which impacts CI as far as availability of workers, but I think is a positive path for individuals to try and get them reunited with their families and their communities. So I think as we continue, like Jamie spoke about, as we continue to look for meaningful opportunities for individuals, Jamie and the reentry team is really focused on connecting education and CI. I know we talked about that last time in our committee meeting. So while I think it's difficult to close an operation, I think it gives us opportunities to focus on new and meaningful work for individuals.
Thank you, Danielle. Okay, with that, we will move on to today's division updates.
Good morning. So starting off with Braille services. So a recently released individual that was a transcriber and our most experienced transcriber was recently released in January, and she was immediately hired by Ogden Resource Center and is currently working with them to be able to assist with editing, proofreading, and completing Braille work out in the community. So that's great that the skill that she learned is helping her, sustain a livelihood while she's out. And an in-house Namath math test was developed by the transcribers and approved by the National Braille Association. That test is now being used by 3 other states. 2 new apprentice hires have completed their state test for the Unified English Braille, advancing to the next level manuscripts, and as well on their way to becoming full transcribers. And one thing that we are currently working on, I hope to get an update at our next meeting, is the contract with Ogden Resource hasn't been updated since 2016. So I'm hopeful that we will have a new contract in place to be able to capture the cost of that program and that service provided. So right now we're working with them just on what that looks like. We do want to maintain this program. It's valuable, especially for, those that have that sensory disability of sight. Going back to the start back in 1997. So it's a long-standing relationship and we want to continue that.
And Ryan, I just want to add to that, a couple months ago, when I had the opportunity to meet with some of the women out at the Braille program, again, the passion that they have for the work that they do and the support they feel for helping others is, it's amazing to see. One of the women was sharing with me that she's working on projects as she feels like a specific child that is getting the materials that she's developing. She's seen him grow over the last, 5 years, that she was working on kindergarten materials and now she's working on, upper level grade materials. And she just, the sense of pride that she had with that work of supporting other people. And, I think it's a pretty powerful and important program that we do maintain.
Yeah, I jokingly say it's changing lives one dot at a time. But it's excellent work that they do. They do take a lot of pride. So going into ProCat, which if you ever come to WCCW, it sits in the same building and the same room as Braille, side by side. So in this last quarter, they drafted 51 jobs, finalizing 39 of those, verifying 49, and with a total amount of 3.4 million of virtual projects. As well hosted a tour for a manufacturing company called 7Gen. That CI's workforce development team is working with to provide opportunities for these individuals. And then this is a great example of the partnership between education and CI. As Daniel mentioned, we're always working for those opportunities. A new drafter was hired in February, but previously completed the technical design class at WCCW, and she's picking up the CAD skills. So taking that education aspect and applying it to her work to become more honed. That's just awesome. One of the things that, again, that we hope to report and give an update on at our next meeting, ProCAD has always been a service for the customer at a furniture, and no charge has been applied to that service, although there's incarcerated gratuities and there's IT and there's staff that go support that. So we are looking at applying a design fee for those services just to help capture the cost of that program so that it's not having to be added on to the cost of furniture or other industries to cover that. So the goal is not to make a bunch of money from state agencies and doing that, but just doing a full cost recovery.
Okay, so construction trades. So Mr. Peterman wasn't able to make it to today's meeting, so I'll just share a report out about our construction trades. So it's exciting in this last update period since the March meeting. We had a total of 165 participants, so that includes 7 track graduates, 15 AJAC Manufacturing Academy graduates, 139 flagger participants, and that's across 5 different facilities. 4 participants were issued forklift cards in the community-based class. So again, that's super exciting. I did have an opportunity to attend the track graduation, class number 67. And it was exciting. It was that first class where family members were able to come into the facility and see their loved ones graduate. Some little kids had little track t-shirts on. It was adorable, but for them to see their moms and their relatives and, have that moment to be really proud of the just achievement and the work that these women go through was super important to be a part of. So again, that was the first time we've had an in-person track graduation since 2019. So again, that post-COVID returning back to normal opportunities and community and family engagement with that. And again, we've seen, pretty significant success with the traffic control program and the popularity of it, that another instructor was added to serve additional facilities. So again, continue just work in that pre-apprenticeship and trades programs. Okay, with food manufacturing, so just for those of you that haven't been to our food factory, the picture that you're looking at on the screen here, this is Airway Heights Correction Center. This is a very small portion of the food factory. The spiral tower that you're looking at in the back, is actually just what we call the bread cooling tower. So, this part of the factory is designed, with lean manufacturing in mind. So one side, where they have the mixers that make the dough makes the loaves or the dinner rolls. It goes into a proofer box, and then the next step is it goes into the ovens, and then the next piece of machinery right next door is this cooling rack, which then spans. And it's a timed cooling rack, so think of like a conveyor belt, like, your suitcases go on at the airport, but where the loaves of bread are, go through, and it's timed specifically that the bread cools down, and then it's immediately packaged and frozen. So that's the work that you see these individuals doing right now. Here, they're at the end of the line where the bread is cool, and they're packaging it to be shipped out. So, but just some updates for food manufacturing. So again, we've had a heavy emphasis on training the past quarter. Food manufacturing, over the last several meetings, we've really been discussing our D365 project, which again, you'll hear about today. It's our significant IT overhaul that's impacting all of our operations. Food manufacturing is the next line of business that's going to be transitioning to that program. So we've been having a lot of prepping and transition, and it does create strain and stress on our workers, because on our staff, and the incarcerated workers, right? Because they've been used to a way of doing business. And so they're still learning, they're still doing their normal tasks, but then there's additional responsibilities of learning a new IT system. So that's been impacting our food manufacturing operation. And again, just the continued collaboration with Food Service Administration in terms of planning, and specifically for some of our major holiday events for Ramadan and Passover. So they're just continue to remain as busy as always. So food services, again, Food Services Administration, oversees all 11 DOC facilities and supports all food service managers with menu development, and support. So they had a unique opportunity this past quarter to collaborate with the Center for Disease Control and Prevention on a food safety guidance program for prisons throughout the country. The National CDC came to us as an outreach, because here in Washington, we have that unique structure where our food manufacturing operation is USDA certified. We have USDA inspectors in there on a daily basis. We have very strict HACCP principles, which is like hazardous analysis, right? Like critical control points for food service, very defined processes that are required by the USDA. We send out samples for lab testing just to ensure that there's no bacteria. And so the CDC reached out to Washington State for some guidance on what we do within a prison environment. Luckily, we haven't had occurrences of any like mass foodborne illness. And so it sounds like that on a national level, they're trying to come up with some additional regulations to support specifically prison environment. In January, our food service admin team presented the statewide family council, really sharing kind of comprehensive information about the food service program. And again, in the collaboration with the state dietitian who works for health services. A couple major legislative bills that impact food services: Senate Bill 5022, which was the ban of expanded polystyrene. So right, no more styrofoam. So that has minor impact for food services. 2 years ago, it would have had an extreme impact with COVID and all of the satellite feeding, because there was a lot of clamshells, right? Think about to-go containers that were utilized at that time. In a mass system right now of feeding roughly 40,000 meals a day, we don't use a lot of disposable items anymore, except in case of an emergency. So we've been working to ensure implementation of that, that no more styrofoam is being purchased for use. And then, of course, another bill that impacted food service in our financials is the required use of cage-free eggs, right? We're all aware of that because we see it at the grocery store with ourselves. But again, it's impactful on an institutional level where you're not just purchasing a dozen eggs a week, it's, you're feeding 40,000 meals a day. And so the price impacts do impact all of our food service operations. And again, kind of the big event for food services during this last quarter was Passover and Ramadan. Our food service operations, they serve, all individuals. We have a wide variety of medical diets as well as religious diets that are provided, and then also religious observances. So in this past quarter, we had Ramadan and Passover, and we continue to see significant participation. So Ramadan, about 5.5% of the population participated in that month-long event. But Passover, I think it's important to note that 21% of the population participated in that. So roughly 2,600 individuals. And that's impactful in terms of, food service having to change what they do and the meals that they're providing, but also on a cost perspective. It was an 800% increase on cost of food services from 2017, and it's about an additional almost $700,000 cost to the department. So again, we'll continue to have those conversations and seek the funding to cover those required religious observances.
All right, furniture brand and sales. So to start with, we've had a fairly long partnership with the University of Washington for providing student housing furniture. Of course, that was possible during COVID because of remote learning, and they weren't ready to ramp back up the upgrades of those. So we've got some early communication with them that they're going to restart doing the student housing with Haggard Hall in the fall of 2027, approximately 900 rooms. So a pretty substantial order. We're hoping to start receiving that purchase order in the fourth quarter of 2025. As you can imagine, it takes a little bit of time to manufacture 900 rooms worth of dormitory furniture, but I'm really glad that we're able to continue that partnership with them. Another great opportunity that we've found just for sustainability is a vendor warranty replacement form. So we created that so that we can estimate the cost of what those warranties are to us. Some of our partner vendors, they've been more than happy to provide, let's say, a chair cylinder for a warranty, but they won't reimburse us for the cost of actually having to go out, drive to that location, the labor for that to do that work. So we've had some conversation with them. They are willing to provide some reimbursement for that. And so we just wanted to have some sort of documentation of what that entailed, right? So we're hoping to implement that early into July, August, so we can start recouping the costs of the staff time and other expenses. And then the picture you have there, if you're on site today, touch it, feel it, play with it. It's the brand new reception area. The furniture product was provided to us as vendor samples. And this is a great example of the Legion panel systems that we install and manufacture. So the great thing about this is, and I think I've mentioned in previous board meetings, the design of that was actually a contest that we did with the ladies out of WCCW. So we said, hey, here's the goal, here's what we want, to kind of let their creative minds go to work. The winner of that was one of our newer drafters. But we did take some small elements from each one on the final, but the majority of it was from that least experienced drafter. So it's really cool. And I know that Jeremy, our reception up there, he's super excited about it. So hope you take the opportunity to take a look at that today. Then furniture manufacturing. So probably the first time in a couple of years, I'm pretty pleased to say that we have all of staff positions filled within the operations, which is great. That provides that coaching, mentoring, training for the incarcerated as well as safety and security on the manufacturing floor. We were able to purchase some new equipment this last year. We did have some delays in getting load studies, and get the electrical hooked up for that. So right now got the load study done, stuff's in place. And the facility maintenance electrician is assisting us in getting that installed. So Chris and we visit next week to go see the new equipment we have up there. We actually chose not to surplus the old equipment since it was so less usable life. So we replaced one of our CNCs and one of our edge banders. And so we found that there was enough space and capacity within our electrical system to maintain those, which will really help us during like this time of year when we have increased production, just to have that opportunity for throughput and some redundancies. So. And lastly with that, sorry, one more thing. We are also getting probably in the next couple of weeks to do our first install of a cabinet line. So it's been a while since we've done cabinetry work. That paused for a period of time for some reason, but we've upgraded those drawings and been offering that as a new product line to customers. And I think we have a total of 7 orders right now, and the first one's going to be at the military department. So hopefully that continues to grow. Sorry.
Morning, everyone. We report out this morning on incarcerated individual services. So that division includes our centralized commissary, our monthly property package program, property and religious items, food package program, and our bulk sales program. So in regards to commissary, we are continuing 100% on-time delivery, even though we've seen about a 50% increase in the order size of the dollar amount spent, basically, since the implementation last July of the commissary sub-account, and then also the increase in gratuities received by incarcerated workers. So continuing with our on-time delivery, even with that increased production demand. We've recently eliminated, I want to say, it was in March, the blind ordering that was occurring at Clallam Bay. It was our last facility that had this blind ordering. What blind ordering is when an incarcerated individual was placing their store order when it was due, they hadn't received yet the order that they had placed the prior 2 weeks prior, or a week and a half. I'm not sure what their timeline is, but they hadn't received their previous orders. They didn't know necessarily if something had been out of stock, or so it kind of created some challenges there for them as the customer in knowing what it is that they really wanted to order and what maybe they didn't need to order. And that was just due to scheduling and when trucks were arriving and the rotation of delivery. And so we worked with the service delivery division in finding space on an existing food truck, I believe. And so they use a bollard, I think that's what it's called, to keep the front half of the truck separate from the back half. So the front half will have frozen food or food of some kind, and then the back half will have the commissary. So we're able to get orders up there quickly. And so they are receiving their previous order a day or two prior to them now having to place their next order. So removing that blind ordering has been a great benefit up there. What else? With improvements to the food package program, that we had a lot of conversations with with USG, our vendor for that program, in getting inventory ahead of program launches. So the last program launched April 1st of 2024, and so we had nearly all products on inventory in our warehouse ready to go on the first day of that program, which had been a challenge for the past several years. Initially starting with COVID and then just sort of carrying over into where we still weren't receiving quite all products prior to the product launch or prior to the new program launch. And so this program that started in April has gone a lot smoother, and there was a lot fewer out of stocks on day one. In regards to the property program, last winter we started selling the mini game console and a 19-inch television. So both of those have been extremely popular new products and resulted in about an 80% increase in overall sales. We expect that demand will slow now that everyone has really replaced their 19-inch TV or purchased their game console, that we don't expect to see this huge demand continue, but will level out at a reasonable New admissions might be ordering their television versus folks who already had a TV that they're simply replacing. So that's been, what we were seeing over the past several months with that program.
All right, so to report out on laundry, we have ongoing equipment replacement and installation going on throughout our statewide facilities. We have or had installed a new vacuum pump at the Washington Correction Center, and 100% of the equipment that we have purchased will be delivered and installed before the end of the fiscal year, which ends June 30th. A lot of times we run up right up against that, and this year it has scheduled out very nicely where we've been able to get the facilities that are having replacement equipment done actually receive it in on time without a mad scramble there at the end. We have conducted and concluded appreciation events at Column Bay, Cedar Creek, and Olympic Correction Centers. Those are our smaller camp areas, but no less important as far as laundry services are concerned. Laundry is a very big deal at a corrections facility, and so we want to appreciate the workers there, just like we do at our large facilities as well. And lastly, we're initiating a plan with the Department of Natural Resources for laundering of their clothing during the fire season. It's expected to be a pretty active fire season this year, and so we have attempted to get out in front of it a little more on coordinating those laundry services. And then I will also report out on our license plate and tab operations. I do want to announce that effective July 1st, this division that has always been called the Communications Division when we had sign shop and print operations as well. Now that we just have license plates and tabs, we have made the decision to change the name to the Licensing Services Division. Like I said, that'll be in effect come July 1st. So that's what it'll be referred to as we move forward. The picture you see on the screen is actually of our new operation at the Washington State Penitentiary. And I'll speak a little bit more on that here in a bit. But I am happy to report that we do have occupancy now. We passed our last inspection May 17th, and we are, it was a long and challenging journey to get to that point, but we've made it, and we're in that new shop. The Department of Licensing has approved the regular embossed plates that you see on most people's vehicles. They haven't have approved those because the way those are manufactured now is a little different than what we had in the old plant. In the old plant, they would be stamped out and then go through a roller coating process and go through an oven. We're very happy to have that eliminated now, where the images are put on to sheeting, joined with the aluminum, and then embossed to raise the letters and make the rim and the holes in the plate. And so it eliminates the roller coating, the paint, the natural gas and the heat, and just a lot of the hazard pieces that go along with that. The Department of Licensing is also reviewing the vanity plates that we have made for them. Again, the process is a little different. We got updated printers, Tri-Jet printers with that, and then came to find out that some of the coloring and things changed a little bit. So we have those samples with the Department of Licensing right now being reviewed and approved. And there's approximately 70 vanity plates. I don't know if people realize that when you talk about the different universities and different organizations that all have plates. Yeah, there's about 70 to choose from. So quite a few to examine.
And with the new printers, all 70 have to be reapproved with the new coloring.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. But we're making progress.
Out of curiosity, this morning on my way here, I thought I saw a digital plate. Is Washington State doing digital plates like California has done?
Ours are digitally printed.
But they're
Not
digitally
a
printed
digital
and then embossed.
Digital.
Not the big one, not the little
Okay.
LED screen one.
It might have been a part of California. Maybe
Yes.
I did double take. I was like, what?
I would definitely put it on there. But last but not least, we continue to operate both of our license plate operations at the penitentiary right now in the East Complex and the new one in the South Complex until we're caught up with the Department of Licensing and their ordering. And we do anticipate that to be caught up by July, roughly mid-July. But we do anticipate being out of the old shop by the end of June. That's it. So
And, just from a perspective, historically, it's a significant change for that facility, right? It's been in that same shop for its entire inception,
since
which,
the 50s.
yeah.
Okay.
So that's pretty significant, and it does change the population that is programming within that operation. So the East Complex, which we refer to it as, is the minimum facility for WSP. And to some extent, one of the driving factors of the decision to move the shop, not only needing, updated equipment and, again, as to reduce some of those emissions and things like that. But again, the declining population, was a factor. The East Complex used to operate with, 850-ish incarcerated individuals. And again, through, the impacts of the reduction in population, it's maybe more like 400 to 500. But there's still other services that come out of that facility. So moving it's now in what's called the South Complex, which has the medium custody individuals, which those groups of individuals at WSP haven't had as much access or availability to programming. So it does create a new opportunity for those individuals, that are sometimes more long-term individuals. So, for those of you that aren't maybe as familiar with our system, just wanted to share that as well. So.
I did have a question real quick about the tabs portion. I mean, the license plate, I, understand all the new equipment, but do they manufacture the tabs from scratch, or is it just the stamping, or what's the process for tabs?
It's very old school, and if we ever have an opportunity to go to Monroe and view that, you'll see that it is really like a printing press. Is the technology we have there right now. We are evaluating possibly upgrading that operation as well down the road. We just really needed to get through this license plate piece. The tabs are in a stable place, so no sense in upsetting that right now. But it is something that we're evaluating there too, because as Jamie has mentioned a couple of times now, there's some challenges there with the number of incarcerated available to do that work up there. So.
And that shop's located, as Todd said, at Monroe in the WSR, which is the old facility, and the WSR is cold or warm close. So the only incarcerated individuals that are at the WSR are there medically because there's a dialysis unit and, medical needs. And so we have very little access to available workers for that program. And again, that kind of goes against what we're here for, right? We're here to program individuals and supply work training, and soft skill development. So again, as Todd said, that's an ongoing challenge we're experiencing at that facility. So.
McNeil Island, also known as the most photogenic site you can see, right? The stewardship, I believe in our last board meeting, we talked about that we were looking at a grant through Department of Health's shellfish program to conduct a feasibility study to convert our wastewater treatment plant runoff into a large on-site sewage system. So I'm happy to say that we received that grant, and we are working with our environmental planner as we go forward implementing that and seeking whether or not we'd be able to convert the system to that. I mean, one, it reduce potential contamination runoff into the sound and shellfish beds, but it would also reduce some of our licensing requirements. It would put us off of Department of Ecology and into Department of Health. So, but while we have our current system, we were able to upgrade our UV treatment plant or treatment side of that. With a new programmable logic controller, PLC screen upgrade. That system's had some issues, which has led unfortunately to us not being quickly notified when there's been faults in the system. So now that that's been upgraded, we should be able to more quickly respond when there's errors or faults and valves that are out. And we received a certification for IDEX, which is an immunodiagnostic switch of our testing. Please do not ask me to explain what that is, because I do not know, but it sounds really cool. And I know that the treatment plant operators are really excited to be able to have that change over. I believe one thing that does is increases the accuracy and the time it takes to receive the results for some of our testing. And then on the marine side, we continue to work with DOC contracts and capital projects in working towards the design studies that we were funded for barges and ferry replacements. So we've been working very closely with Art Anderson on that, and then getting our requests for proposals out and hoping to get results back from those.
Optical. Photo on the screen, we're hosting our grand opening today of our shell room here at headquarters from 11 to 2. So those of you that are in the area, please join us out after this meeting. We're really pleased with the beginning of the year. We launched a new catalog, new framings, and more popular styles. They've been really well received. We work with over 300 plus providers throughout the state. The primary clients are, Healthcare Authority, VSHS clients. Gosh, last year we shipped over 120,000 frames out to help support those clients. So the new frames, they're loving the popular styles. With that, our price point has not changed for our clients. So they've been pretty pleased with being able to keep that stable. Continued partnership with our Lions Club. 2023, we were able to recycle over 70,000 pairs of glasses. It's a great training opportunity for our individuals as well to be able to neutralize those frames, and an opportunity for them to give back to the community. So, and then also what Jamie and Daniel were talking about, our partnership with education. We run an American Board of Optician Training Program through the Optical Training Institute. But we can't currently proctor the certification test for these individuals. So the certification test, like 75% of individuals that, release, employers are looking for that type of certification. And they're 75% of individuals are being able to get jobs with that certification. So we're looking into partnering with education to be able to proctor the test for these individuals after they've received the training. So I'm pretty excited about that opportunity as well.
Yeah, we just have, those unique barriers and challenges sometimes with technology in an institutional environment. But again, as Vicki said, going back to our partnership with education and, some of the, functionality that they have access to, of them being able to support us through that. So again, the whole goal that it truly just benefits the incarcerated, that they can walk out fully complete. Like I've taken the test, I passed the test, I'm certified. So that's exciting. And one thing I just wanted to share too is I had the opportunity to visit our optical lab, which is at Airway Heights last week. And they have a new automated machine that they have running. And it helps identify what the prescriptions are of lenses. I was watching some of the processes and talking to some of our workers in that shop, and we have an individual, you heard Vicki talk a little bit about our partnership with the Lions Club and taking recycled glasses, washing them, figuring out what the prescription is, and then just, donating them to like Doctors Without Borders and different programs like that. But one of the individuals that was doing that work and cleaning and prepping the products, he maintains a picture of some individuals wearing the glasses, because it's like he wants that reminder of like just the good work that he's doing on a daily basis to support others. So I just thought that was, we all have things that keep us going in the workplace, and individuals are no different. I just wanted to share that.
Yeah.
All right, just touch briefly on our safety and risk management for all of our facilities. We continue to track and report out monthly the accident occurrences that we have. The increased awareness has definitely helped in getting all of the facilities to be consistent in their practices and building a safe working environment. But we have seen market improvements too in our accident injury numbers each quarter as we've gone along. I think it's just, again, come from that renewed focus that we've put on the safety and risk management in our areas. And although CI, we don't operate food services in 6 of the facilities, we do in 5. We do incorporate those accident and injury numbers from those food services with ours, just to build are there common trends and common things that we can work towards to eliminate accidents in those areas, because that's where the majority of a lot of our incidents come from, for those areas when, you're bringing through pallets of food and, a lot of product all the time. That's where we're seeing some of our numbers of significance. So just trying to find those common themes and common trends to help eliminate those accidents. We did also conduct safety audits for Airway Heights and Coyote Ridge Correction Center. Both did very well, and we're participating in safety training with the DOC safety team, where in the past we've kind of been siloed to take care of our piece of it. DOC takes care of theirs. Now we're doing it as a combined effort, which has been much more effective, and again raises that consistency across all of the facilities.
And one thing with the safety program, that I think is important to note is, we have our, of course, our staff, and the picture that we're looking at here, we have an annual in-service training, and that's a picture from the annual in-service on fire prevention. But, so our staff participate, of course, in safety committees, but so do our incarcerated workers, right? They're part of it in the shop level. Their voice, ensuring that they're working in a safe environment. They have some, great ideas and suggestions. I know even, we go through, different trainings like, bomb threats or, hazardous type incidents. And, we all know where we go. We go through fire alarms and fire drills and, to those required practices. But our incarcerated workers too, they have some ideas of like, well, what would we do? What would we do if there's an active shooter? And, just having, that conversation and being a part of it, there's again significant value in that collaboration between our staff and our incarcerated workers and hearing their voice, because obviously they're an incredibly active part of our workforce. So.
Service and delivery. So happy to report that all of our pending installations from fiscal year 2023 have been completed. Some of those delays in installs from last year's orders. One, typically July and August, we're trying to play catch up on all the end-of-year orders in this capacity, but other times it's due to construction delays, which is what the one in front of you right there is. So that was the last job that we completed from last year, and that's Spokane Falls Community College. They're ready about 4 months away for construction, so it was nice to get that one off the plate and installed properly. 4 staff members were able to pass their bus passenger endorsement testing. We require that of all of our CDL drivers because we do transport the individuals from Cedar Creek on site here every day via bus. And as far as asset replacement, we were able to complete the replacement of 4 of our trailers and 2 of our delivery box trucks. So.
All right, textiles. So our Consolidated Distribution Center, or CDC, is in the process of filling 2,200 release bags for the reentry centers with the Department of Corrections. This is a collaborative effort between us and the department to fill basically backpacks with essential items for people that are releasing from the reentry centers. I'm happy to report the Washington Correction Center for Women, with just a 2-week lead time, were able to produce 1,500 customized blankets for the Department of Licensing and their staff appreciation event that they had. We also work closely with the Department of Health, Women, Infant, and Children, or the WIC program, and they have added 3 additional vendors that we assist with as far as distribution of breastfeeding products, the breast pumps and bags and the associated items that go with those. But they have also added 3 additional states, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana, for the distribution of those that we assist in. And lastly, we've worked with DOC on a broad pilot program, and Coyote Ridge Correction Center produced a gender responsive incarcerated pant, partnering with WCCW, the women's facility, in design, building, and the fulfillment process. And that's what is pictured on the slide up there, is the gender responsive pant. And we've had very positive response about those. It's taken quite a while to get to this through a number of samples made and testing with the population. So I'm happy to report that we finally got to an endpoint on being able to produce those and get those distributed out.
Out for workforce development. Actually, the photo on the screen right now is from my first report on this. It's after, I think we daylit this at the last committee meeting, but in March, we held our first mock interview event at CI headquarters, and it was our first one in about 5 years. We had 10 community partners that participated, that came in and volunteered. They were from Thurston County, King County, and Pierce County. And we had 14 individuals from Cedar Creek, so individuals that either work here in the service delivery division or textiles or Big Neal Island were present and participated in this mock interview. So they sat with volunteers, either community partners, or we had some DOC and CI staff, and walked through a mock interview with those individuals. They had full background on what they were applying for, what kind of position, what kind of company. They studied in advance for it. They went through the Employment Security's job hunter training prior to this, so they learned how to write a resume, how to answer difficult questions, how to have, kind of that 30-second elevator speech. They also went through financial literacy training prior to this event, and that's another piece that we have since March, when we had our first financial literacy class. We've held it several more times throughout CI headquarters. We're hosting it next week at Fairway Heights. We're hosting both a mock interview event and training in a financial literacy class. So the class really provides just some basic fundamentals around saving and what to do, how to budget your paycheck, and different kind of opportunities that they will have, either that they may not be familiar with or may have just forgotten during their time here and need a refresher on. Workforce development team has also been training our CI staff in cognitive coaching. So in the first quarter of 2024, they trained 82 staff in this course. So this is the supervisory side of the Making It Workforce. So it's teaching our CI staff how to best supervise our incarcerated individuals who have been going through Making It Work training, which is that cognitive coaching, cognitive employment kind of training on how to develop those soft skills, how to take constructive criticism, how to work as a team, how to learn how to stop and think about things that might be challenging for them. So the cognitive coaching piece is providing supervisors with tools and background about what the individuals are learning and how to support them in the workforce while they're working for CI. By the end of June, we should have the majority of CI staff trained and gone through that. There's going to be a couple of, the goal was 100% of the staff by June 30th. There'll be a couple of outliers at a couple of our facilities, so we'll wrap those up in short order after that. And then the workforce development team has been increasing our outreach to community partners in Pierce County and Clark County. They've been going to a lot of resource fairs, employment fairs. They've been meeting with employers and community-based organizations and agencies in support of just finding those outreach and opportunities for individuals and where we can partner, and just sort of making sure that we know as much as we can about what tools and availability there is in the communities that we have individuals releasing to, which obviously there's some counties that have more release than others, but we really are trying to branch out and ensure that we have knowledge around in a lot of communities, not just Thurston County, Pierce, King kind of area, but branching out north, south, east. So that was it for Spelman.
All right. In regards to our financials, I don't know if you noticed or not, we're moving this up a little bit from where we've had it previously in other presentations, but just looking at the graphic, working from right to left, showing our forecast where we were as of March 31st, and then how the previous year has stacked up. Graphically, we're trending fairly consistently with what we forecasted and what our performance was last year through the first 3 quarters of the fiscal year. However, we have experienced improved revenue for the year, but our cost of goods sold has definitely increased due to increased costs in raw materials and consumables. I do want to commend our operations on holding our operating expenses pretty steady through really, we looked at the last 5 years, but just year over year also, they've been doing an excellent job of keeping our operating expenses in check. And although we do reflect a net loss as of March 31st, we are doing better than forecast and do anticipate being at a break-even net income position when the year ends June 30th. So that's the long and short about where we stand financially through 3 quarters.
Okay, so for new business, the majority of the topic today is, of course, our advisory committee guidelines. So we did have a chance to send those out to all of our voting members ahead of today's meeting. And so the guidelines, I don't think have been updated since roughly 2007, maybe. So, 15-ish years. And so there's, they're 2 pages long. So I just wanted to take a minute and kind of just review them and, discuss as a group if there's any, questions or concerns or comments from the advisory committee members. So, obviously, they're in your packets here for today, if you didn't bring them with you. So most of the guidelines, there's specific RCWs that do speak to the advisory committee. So obviously Article 1 is just, the name of the advisory committee meeting. Article 2 discusses the members, which, again, is in statute RCW 7209-080, which speaks to exactly what the, makeup is of the advisory committee. So resignation, of course, a committee member may resign at any time by delivering written notice to the secretary of the Correctional Industries Advisory Committee official address. The resignation shall be effective upon receipt. Vacancies, the secretary shall appoint new members to fulfill resigning members' remaining term. The application process during the active recruitment, completed application resume will be sent through the recruitment link, which again, we post on the DOC external website. And applications will be reviewed by the Secretary of the Department of Corrections. And then Article 3, committee responsibility. And so again, I think this is an important section of understanding, how our committee members can support correctional industries. So advisory committee members for the Correctional Industries Advisory Committee are appointed by the Secretary of the Department of Corrections to help improve our Class 1 and 2 programs that prepare incarcerated workers to enter and succeed in post-release employment, which again, just really goes with our mission, vision, and values of CI. Members who represent business, labor, and public have expertise in the skills and competencies needed for specific occupations. The committee promotes constructive and necessary changes within a program, helps generate new ideas, and serves as an advocate for career programs. And so some of the sub bullet points, right? The committee may bring individual perspective based upon skill set to assist with help guiding CI, support the CMT members and CI build up the organization with the end goal of positively changing lives, recommend new technologies to be included in the program, increase community awareness of CI, assist with bridging the gap with reentry from incarceration to employment based on individual industry knowledge and relationships, advise on the effectiveness of the program, and support state and federal legislation that impacts CI in our programs. So pause there before we kind of move on. Any comments on any of those sections or concerns? Looking to anybody on Teams, I don't see any hands raised. Okay, so the next article, the meetings, of course, open meetings, all meetings of the Correctional Industry Advisory Committee shall be in conformance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act. Regular meetings, the committee will meet to transact business at least quarterly. The time and location of the quarterly meetings of the upcoming calendar year shall be determined at the last quarterly meeting. The schedule will be noted in the minutes for publishing in the Washington State Registrar and mailed directly to the members of the public who file a request for such notice. The secretary of the committee. So again, these are pretty in line with the actual Open Public Meetings Act. And then, with new age technology, we did add in some language that supports our hybrid meetings, right? Because now we have the ability to have in-person meetings as well as virtual. So the virtual chat when meetings are held virtually, the chat function will not be monitored. The public comment, each quarterly CI Advisory Committee meeting will provide 5 minutes for public comment. The current director of correctional industries will preside over the advisory committee meeting. And then kind of the last section, miscellaneous, right? So rules of order, the rules contained in the last revised edition of Robert's Rules of Order, which is currently the 12th edition, shall govern the meetings of the members where those rules are not inconsistent with the statute or structure of the guidelines. And then so just simple guidelines, engaging in respectful and collaborative interactions, provide meeting space either in person or virtually, provide timely postings of the meeting recordings and document provided to voting and non-voting members of the advisory committee. And then the last section is, of course, on compensation. And that really pulls from RCW again, and we can always provide any of our voting members with the 819 to support for the funding for after attending each meeting. So again, that language is pulled directly from the RCW. So I know that was a mouthful, so I'll pause there and just see, if there's questions or comments or concerns from the voting members on these guidelines. Give it a minute for any of our members on Teams. With that being the case, do I have a motion to approve these as the new updated guidelines for the CI Advisory Committee?
So moved.
In a second. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Chris. Okay, so we will ensure that these get posted. We will send out a final copy and ensure that all of our advisory committee members have the updated guidelines. Okay, and we, again, as I alluded to earlier in today's meeting, we do have a guest speaker with us, Bassana Monkoff. So she's currently housed at Washington Correction Center for Women. And she more commonly goes by Lenny. So Glenn, are you online?
I am. Good morning, everyone. If you would allow me a quick minute to invite Lenny in here to speak with our guests. So hold on, stay tuned.
Glenn?
So good morning, everyone. I'm
There he is.
Glenn Davis, General Manager at WCCW. And, it's a privilege to be able to allow to spotlight one of our programs and also one of our participants of our ProCAD department. ProCAD is a name that's been with it for about 10 years, and it just kind of instills the fact that we are professionals here. We help service all state agencies with their space planning requirements. We keep track of the state agencies' inventories of their furniture when they do reconfigurations. I'm going to introduce you to Vatsana Monkoth, otherwise known as Lenny. She is one of my most senior drafters at this time, and was an apprentice about 3 years ago. I'd say that I had 4 other drafters that were released into our communities, and today still hold positions in AutoCAD drafting and various services. So I think it's a very lucrative career for some. Lenny has chosen to actually join our track, our trades-related apprenticeship coaching class, which she graduated from, to further her toolbox for when she releases. So she's a very important aspect to this program. She has taken it to help train others to get them up to speed in this drafting program. And she also serves the sales team and also customer service at Stafford Creek with her knowledge. So again, I want to introduce you to Lenny, and ask any questions you have. I'll let her tell her a little bit of her story, and then we'll open with questions afterwards. Thanks.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for letting me be a part of this whole advisory meeting thing. I guess a little background of how I got into CI is when I first got here, I was in close custody and found that it was really not my scene. And so I was looking into programs I could get into, so just to get out of unit. I did a little research. Somebody mentioned technical design, which I had no idea what was technical design and what it entailed. The only requirement was that you could take it if you had 10 years or less. A lot of the other programs wanted you to get into it when you were closer out the door. So I took the technical design class, found out what it was, found out that I was actually really good at it. And once I graduated with my certificate, I was invited to come back to CI to see what they do back here, to see how applying the skills that I learned could look like, aside other than drawing blocks from a book, right? I walked into an office and saw people like inmates or individuals like myself talking on the phone, working together as a team to solve problems, having their own computers, like their own little office space. Like I really liked it. I was like, okay. So I applied, and I was immediately embraced by my new team. It was pretty interesting. It's a little bit intimidating. There's a lot of information. There's attention to detail is probably the #1 skill that you need in this job. But it was really fun. I like the challenge of it. Let's see. I learned a lot. So I learned, how to reconfigure a job. I learned about furniture lines. I learned about how to install all of this product that we're trying to sell to these companies. Outside of the scope of job operations, CI has also helped me develop some of my soft skills. So communication-wise, honing my leadership skills, adjusting my approach to different personalities and situations. That's definitely, that's been pretty key in my development here. Also developing my confidence in myself and the knowledge of like the furniture line and everything. When I started here, I was nervous. Like I said, there was a lot of information, and honing my leadership skills, I was not ready. I was not ready to be a lead. There's just so much that you can mess up in information that to be had. I liked having somebody like my other leads hand to hold. So if I had questions, but as everyone started getting out, I was placed into this lead position, and it has really helped develop my leadership skills, as well as I think there's been mention from Glenn as well as like James Trogdon and everything, but the team that we have now, we work so well together. There's better communication throughout. There's better processes that we can discuss and help alleviate a process or make things more efficient, which is great. After getting a couple years under my belt, so I've worked here for over 3 years now, I have come to really appreciate working for CI. There are some things that, like any job that I feel could use some improvement, but I work with account executives who are really great to work with. They're super patient, they're understanding. I also work with Glenn, he's great, he's a great boss. It has not always been that way. I know that when I first started, I couldn't figure him out. He was very stiff. I didn't know his humor was so dry. But now I look to him as almost like a mentor, like he's been a great asset. Or I asked him about furniture, how to install stuff. Like he's just been super supportive as well. Like he said, he supported me through track. All my other extracurricular activities like API meeting, like I'm on the Asian Pacific or Islander committee, as well as me finishing out my business associates in business. So he's been really supportive, and he's helped guide me through all of this, which was great. Let's see, I think that's about it about me. Is there any questions?
So I'll jump in here, Lenny. So no, first and foremost, again, thank you for being here today, and thank you for being willing to kind of share your story and a little bit about your journey. If you're comfortable sharing, I mean, we're always, wanting to be better, to do better. I think it's great hearing that you've been able to not just stick with one thing, right? To be able to try different things, to try the track, to participate in ProCAD, and kudos and congratulations on working towards your business and your associate's degree. That's wonderful. So, but are there opportunities, and things that we could do and be better at to support yourself and other individuals? And if you're comfortable answering this, great. If it's more offline, that's okay too. So don't want to put you on the spot.
So the question was how to improve a little bit of CI? Okay. I think well, recently we just heard that we're losing our textiles, right? And that was really disappointing. I think for everyone in CI. I know when we have downtime in drafting, I've gone to help textiles when they were super busy. I even help in Braille when they're super busy. So I've had a lot of cross training and just assisting the company in general. I think that there's a lot of women down there that have put in a lot of hard work, and they know what they're doing, and they've helped create patterns and designs for clothing to just being really good at screen printing and all that other stuff, and just to take those jobs from us was pretty disappointing, because it was a good job. It is a pretty good job to have. I think another thing that is a struggle, because we've found that it's a little bit of a struggle to hire new people, especially after there was the basic jobs here, like the janitors and all that other stuff, when they got bumped up to $1 an hour, and we were struggling to find new people to work here, is the deductions of the cost of supervision or incarceration, I think. right, that was really high. And so we get deducted a lot compared to the other people that don't really get those deductions. If like reducing them perhaps might be helpful. I like the putting it into savings. That's great, but you know, I think a lot of other people can agree. And then I think with my department, if we could possibly get limited access to the internet, that would be super beneficial. So there's a lot of times where we have to look through catalogs or trying to find blocks online or just doing research about furniture lines and all that other stuff. And so having to not have to bother Glenn when he's busy in meetings and stuff like that, and our supervisor who's trying to do other things for everyone else, I think that would be super beneficial. Just limited access to just like KIOEI stuff like that. But other than that, you know, yeah.
No, really appreciate that feedback, and yeah, and I understand all of it. I understand, you know, the textiles and you know, people, you know, have been in that area for a long time, and it is hard. And then, you know, as far as the deductions, that is consistent messaging that we hear across the state through all operations. You know, that I'm sure you're aware that, of course, it's legislatively mandated, so it's not something that can be changed overnight for either area. It's not something that I have any authority to change for CI, to reduce or the class 3 workers. I agree that we do hear about the savings account, right? You get 10% taken out of your pay to go into a mandatory savings account that again you receive for post-release. That there's pretty significant value with that for anybody. But again, I think that's important to be aware of in terms of the discrepancies between the deductions within the department. So thank you for sharing that feedback.
Thanks. Thank you.
Sure. Other questions from any of our committee members online or here in person? Terry?
Hi, good morning. Thanks so much for being here with us today. I just had a really, just kind of a couple of little questions. So when do you wrap up your associate's degree? And are you going to pursue additional education? And I understand that your associate's is in business. And so will you be looking at a different discipline perhaps to study once you've concluded your associate's degree and are looking toward a bachelor's?
Yes, I would love to get my bachelor's. However, right now we're in the process of switching schools. So now we're Olympic College, and I'm just waiting to see what they offer here. Yeah.
Best of luck.
Haley, this is Ryan. Good morning.
All right.
I know that you and I have had some conversations just on what your hopes are of applying what you've learned through track and ProCAD and education upon your release. So you wanted to share kind of what that plan is?
Yeah, I honestly, I want to end goal, my dream goal is to own like a real estate empire. So this, trying to make 6 figures if not more a year. Drafting has been great, like, and then also marrying that with what I've learned in track. So understanding the very importance of dimensioning, like the measurements and how to apply these things. What is logistically possible instead of just, you know, kind of trying to make a castle out of, I don't know, popsicle sticks, you know, type of thing. So marrying those two skills together, it's been really enlightening. And I think I can take this really far. I do enjoy working with my hands. I do enjoy working in the office. So, I mean, I want to be able to do both at the same time. I do love track though.
That's kind of the trifecta, right? With the knowing the skill set with track and then the drafting component and getting the business degree to do a little house renovation and flips.
Yeah. I can't fail.
All right.
Thank you, Lenny.
Thank you.
Any other last minute questions for Lenny?
Yeah, Lenny, my name's Chris. I'm one of the advisory committee members. And first of all, I would just like to thank you for sharing your story with us this morning. I really enjoyed, hearing your interests in a lot of different things. And, going from CAD to track to, business, there's a lot of connections there within construction. And so my question is, what has been your favorite experience so far? And really, what are you hoping to do? You mentioned building a real estate empire, but if you could have a job on the outside, what would that look like?
A job on the outside. So my plans, I get out in a few years, and I really want to go into the trades, and then maybe do like a side hustle, because I like to stay busy. I like to work. I believe I have really good work ethic. So it's like maybe doing construction and like downtime, I can do drafting on the side because I really enjoy it. Like whether it be space planning for a different company or designing little, maybe, I don't know, tiny homes or whatever it may be. I wish to do both. I think that's obtainable, that little goal right there for when I get out. Yeah.
Again, thank you so much for sharing your experience and being with us here this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, Glenn, thank you.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Yep, you guys take care. All right. Well, with that, actually, we're rolling directly into our public comment portion of today's advisory committee meeting. So I would like to pause here and see if there's anybody on the call today from the public that wanted to speak to the advisory committee. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised. I'll give it a few more seconds here. And for recording purposes, please notate in the minutes that at 10:25, we had the public comment portion with no questions from the public today. Okay, so with that, we'll roll into our old business, circling back from last month's meeting. And I'll turn it over to Vicki.
A365, we've talked about it before. It has been a multi-year endeavor to upgrade our enterprise resource planning software. Over the next few months, we're actually increasing momentum with the project. One of the things that, Jamie kind of mentioned earlier is the impact to the facilities. We will be gearing them for timekeeping and user acceptance testing for timekeeping module here at the beginning of July. June businesses and operations are kind of going through their year-end closeout right now. June is pretty busy for our shops and facilities. So user acceptance testing at the beginning of July is in flight. That is actually working with our staff at the facilities and going through testing cases from beginning to end. So a level 1 would be like how to clock in, clock out a worker into the shop. A level 2 user would be how to update SOC codes or their, hire new workers in the system and process. And then like a level 3 worker would be working with our local business offices to close down end of the month, timekeeping functions. So Our user acceptance testing is slotted to last about 3 to 4 weeks to get through all of those processes. Of course, we've got, a holiday in there. We've got, year-end closeout too for our financial group to kind of process as well. So the momentum is increasing for this. The next couple of months are going to be really exciting for the project to implement. It does affect 5 facilities, so it's working with our general managers, our business managers at the facility level, and then some of our shop supervisors to be able to do those functions in the system. They've already received some initial training, but then we'll do some refresher training along the way as part of the user acceptance testing. And then Jamie mentioned earlier about the impact on food manufacturing. We'll be moving into a conference room pilot type testing for them. And then once we get through that process, we will take the information that we receive from that and then, look at standing up the production environment to be like the next line of business that rolls out. So, the next few months are going to be really exciting for the project. Last month, we made some business decisions through our executive steering committee charter. This project continues to be under WATEC oversight, but we chose to de-scope phase 2 of the project, which included like the customer engagement. We'll take a look at that at the end of the project and possibly like have that separate on its own once we get through D365 and stabilization for our last remaining lines of business, which is furniture division. So a lot of things in flight for the project. So a lot of momentum over the next quarter. I'll be pleased to really provide some exciting news at our next update.
All right, back to license plates. As I spoke of earlier, very happy to report that we are finally in production in the new shop. As a matter of fact, I saw an email a little bit ago that they're boxing up plates right now to send to the Department of Licensing. So very exciting time for us to see it go from start to finish. This project came at a cost of approximately $3.3 million when you added in the equipment and the building upgrades that we ended up needing to do in order to inhabit where our new area is at. And like I said, it has been very time consuming and a challenging project, but we're very excited about being able to move into that area because like Jamie talked about, we'll have 4 staff members that work in that area, just like in the old shop, but now we'll be able to employ between 30 to 35 incarcerated out in that area, where, like Jamie said, there hasn't been programming out in that area as far as correctional industries is concerned for the last number of years. It's a great area to get back into and to provide that to the medium custody incarcerated. It gives us the opportunity to work with them a little longer than we did have the opportunity to work with individuals in the minimum area. So the plan is to be able to provide them with more our services, not just doing the work for us, but also being able to make the work training and receive certifications and be able to advance in different areas so they can fill their toolbox for once they release. There is ongoing training that's occurring with staff and workers. We are having the vendor out in a couple of weeks to do just kind of a final tune-up training with staff and the incarcerated. As I spoke of already, we do have samples. Some have been approved already by DOL and others are going through the approval process. And as we spoke of, some of that is simple tweaking of colors in some instances. I think the thing that's been great to see and a little bit surprising to the Department of Licensing is plates that we've produced for years, the ones that we're producing now have even more clarity. And it's almost shocking to them. I'll use the Orca plate as an example where the previous image and even the artwork that originally came with that it kind of shows a misty background and the orca jumping out of the water, which, you know, this area is that way. However, on the new plate, the orca came through too clear. And so we're finding, our team's doing a great job of finding ways, okay, how can we dial that back a little bit so it's a little more subtle and not quite as sharp as what we're now able to provide. So it's been a very interesting process, going through the approval process.
And a little extra attention to get that right crimson red from WSU.
The WSU plate is very near and dear to my heart. Getting that hue correct. The purple for you, Deb, whatever they were. No, we pay attention to that one as well. As I stated, that both shop locations are being utilized right now until we are caught up with the Department of Licensing. But one of the more exciting things is we will be celebrating the 100-year relationship between the department and the Department of Licensing. It's been now 101 years that we've been producing license plates for the state of Washington. And so we plan to have a celebration on the 31st from 11 to 12 at the penitentiary, where we'll have folks from the Department of Licensing and folks from leadership with DOC and with CI, and celebrate the relationship. Their definite patience with us and Grace in the last couple of years, and then a new way forward. So very excited for that. So I don't know if there's any questions, any additional questions on that, but this may be probably the last time we'll report out on your shop.
I have a question.
Okay.
Way back when we were talking about the new machinery and everything coming in, there was conversation about having the staff and the residents working and learning it together. Did that happen?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
I will put a little caveat to that, though. When we started the training, when the vendor was out, we thought, okay, we're going to be able to just get going. And we had trained 6 individuals as well as our staff on the machinery. Then ran into issues on inspections, and there was delay after delay on getting the permitting and things lined up. And so we did lose a couple individuals out of that. They moved on to other jobs or moved to other facilities. We have been able to get 4 of those people back, and they're back in the shop. And so they'll basically work as our leads now. And the incarcerated we just hired over the course of these last 2 weeks, they'll be involved in the training when we bring out the vendor in a couple of weeks. And it'll be a combined training. It's not a former model we usually had was the staff would learn first and then train the incarcerated. Now this time it's everybody learning together. And what's really great about this too is we've pushed the limits a little bit in regards to the IT piece, because there are some things that are different than what we've done in the past, where it will be on a closed system still, but there will be times when the vendor can connect into the system while incarcerated and our staff are on there, in order to make, if there's issues with the design that we just can't quite get right, the vendor can collaborate with us to get the design correct. And that will involve the incarcerated and staff at the same time. And then a lot of the automation, you can't see the pictures too well, but as far as the line where the aluminum runs through and joins up with the sheeting, it's about as long as this room, but there's a lot of intricacies there on how it's fed, different control panels that things have to be lined up. And so being able to put them on live machinery that is industry, more relevant to industry now, is just very significant. And we're very proud of that.
And on the lines of your question, Lauren, it's exciting. Reentry is actually sponsoring a pilot program that's going to be occurring actually here in just about a week and a half down in Walla Walla, a week-long training, 7 habits of highly effective people. But staff are gonna go through the training alongside of incarcerated individuals. Some of our CI staff are participating in that, some prison staff are participating in it. Again, thank you to the Reentry Division for sponsoring, so all these programs come with an expense. So kind of that trial to see how that goes. So again, they're going through this opportunity together. So very excited to hear the outcome, and we've got a handful of CI staff, a couple from Airway Heights coming down, to join the staff at WSP.
Yeah, and just kind of inadvertently, it seems like this is becoming more of a trend, because as we bring on our new CNC machine and our edge bander, we'll have the vendor come in to work and train the incarcerated on that equipment, as well as familiarize the staff with it. And then during COVID, we lost, since the reduction in population, we've lost quite a few of our more experienced turret punch operators on the metal side. And so we had to have some repairs come in and a technician come in, but we also had them stick around for a couple of days and do some hands-on training to incarcerated staff on that as well. So inadvertently, it seems like we're doing this pretty often anymore. So that's great.
It opens the platform, it opens conversation, and it works, and just, I think, on the Securus tablets that Adobo got put on there. And ever since, I've had nothing but positive comments about it. It's so exciting to hear. And I made the suggestion the other day of opening that to staff and seeing how many, common things and topics of conversation that could be open, because that's what makes, when you look at just having people in a box, that there's no interaction from outside, and the staff are there outside. And so to be able to bring the positive and the good in, and the ideas and the thoughts, is what changes the way that people think.
Again, even just a simple, very simple and non-technology focused lab. Last week I had the opportunity to go into our Airway Heights optical shop, and one of our line staff was writing on a really massive whiteboard, and every day in that shop, they have trivia and fun facts, and so he has the questions and they write them up there, and then it's an interaction between staff and incarcerated of like, let's talk about these facts, or who got the closest guess or who got it right. And it just little small things like that humanize the work environment are just important. So yeah, I appreciate that feedback. Okay, I think next slide. Yeah, so pause there. Really this was the ending of our portion of the meeting, but wanted to pause. We do have a few minutes left, that if there's any additional comments or conversations that any of our advisory committee members wanted to have as a group. Oh, Terry?
Hey, hi. I just wanted to say thanks so much for including AHCC and quite a few of us over in this region in the mock interview process next week. We're all super excited to be able to participate and kind of see what it holds. There's always an opportunity for some of us old dogs to learn some new things too. So we're looking forward to it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. I know the team's super excited to have you guys participate next week, and I'll miss the first half of it because the Reentry Division, we make an effort every year that we want to get to all facilities where we have operations, so reentry centers on an annual basis. And so on Tuesday, we'll actually be at Airway Heights, just meeting with staff to kind of have open conversation. And then on Wednesday, the day of mock interviews, will be myself and Danielle have 2 reentry centers in Spokane that we'll attend, and then we'll come join you guys at the mock interviews. So looking forward to that.
Oh, good. It'll be good to see you.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Okay, perfect. Well, with that being said, again, thank you for the engagement today, the support. Our next, Correctional Industries Advisory Committee meeting is September 19th, again, from 9 to 11, virtual and in-person option. We are beginning to develop the schedule for 2025, which feels odd to say, but you know, we know how calendars book out. We try to be intentional on these quarterly meetings to avoid holiday weeks and try to make it easy for everybody to get planned. So with that in the said, please notate in the minutes, it's 10:41, and we will close the advisory committee meeting for today. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.